And I mean, you really are beloved by your fans. And I think one fan came up and said something to you like, "You're the nicest guy in the industry." What does it mean to kind of hear that, over the years and have the fans that just like, I mean, it's not as common as you would hope. And so you really do have a connection with your fans.
But being a nice guy doesn't always work well in business.
Having that mental headspace of someone being like, this is not only my favorite, creator and artist, he's also someone that I look up to highly. Because
that's a nice feeling, but there's no conscious effort. This is just the way I was raised by my parents. I try to just be myself. I can't think of it any other way because otherwise I would seem phony by giving stupid answers.
Yeah.
And I'm not the smartest man in the world, but I'm the most honest with myself on the inside. So when I say when I'm being spoken to by somebody, I say what I want to say, as opposed to what they want to hear.
Yeah, I like that. But in that mind, with obviously the fans and the relationship you built, and I think I saw you talking to people that you've known for years too. Is that the highlight for you of like coming to conventions and talking to the fans and seeing people?
Oh, I've seen people that I've seen before, and I mean that I haven't seen in a while that I've known. That's a highlight. But I was telling somebody recently that with COVID blanking out a bunch of shows for a couple of years, getting back to this, I never expected to look forward to it so much. I had missed it.
Really?
I even missed flying a little bit. My wife does not so much, but doing the shows was an effort for a couple of years because I'm always on trying to keep schedules. Mm-hmm. This I was missing because it's so much fun to interact with people. Yeah. That's all there is. You get to hang out, and also the people that you haven't seen in many years. It's great. Yeah. I saw a couple of people. I saw a lady that I went to high school with that I haven't seen since we graduated high school.
No way.
Yeah. So the two of us spoke, and we're going to try and get together when we get home, and that kind of thing. So it's the personality part, the friends and the people, but the people that read the books and then come up and speak to you and say nice things. It's nice to get complimented, but to interact with them is so much fun. It gives you an idea. Listen, it also lets me know I'm doing something right occasionally.
Well, it's about the relationships over just, obviously.
Yeah.
Bringing up high school, it's funny because I was going to actually take it back and go into, obviously, I mean, your career is beyond iconic, and I don't say that lightly, and obviously runs in your blood and the family. Was there ever another possible path for you? Was it always going to be that you were going to be creating and be an artist, but also be in the family business, or was there ever another thought of, I could have gone another way?
I was told that I had to put in 2 years of school by my father, because I wanted to be a cartoonist as a kid, watching him. And he said, no, not unless you go to school for this amount of time. And the only thing that was artistic at that time, 74 when I graduated high school, now you all know how old I am, was advertising.
Okay.
And being so close to Manhattan, it made sense that if worse comes to worse, I go to school for advertising, illustration, advertising. I can find a job or something in the art field, and it wasn't going to be comics because my father was adamant. Get 2 years done, and then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
He said, and if you're living in this house, you got to do what I tell you. I got a lease immediately, and I was working 3 jobs at the time to pay for it. But he said, you'll know. Just don't do it because I do it. It's not that great a living. So I would go in between semesters to Marvel and show my portfolio from college.
Crazy.
And they liked it, and they gave me a little bit of work, and it started to follow up, and I didn't get the 4-year degree. He was pissed, but he was happy, and then he became proud.
That's awesome. Is there a portfolio out there somewhere with advertising ads that you did that like were part of like your, if you were testing it out, or like
I don't know where it is.
That's amazing.
I don't know where it is. That's a great question.
Do you remember like your like first memories of creating and drawing and creating characters? I mean, again, like obviously, and also
creating characters only the Prowler, because I was sitting
13, right?
It was a rainy day. Yeah, I was sitting in front of the television and started scratching something down, and I don't know what spurred the name the Prowler. I don't know where it came from. Maybe it was something in a film. This guy's prowling around, that kind of thing. But I was 13, and I wrote it down, and I did this stupid skin-tight costume on the prototypical superhero and showed it to my father. And I don't know why, because I was embarrassed to show him everything. He was so good, and I wasn't. And I didn't show him anything, and I showed him this. And my mother, at the same time that he was saying, not bad. She said, bring it to Stan. And that was it. He brought it in, and Stan liked the name, didn't like the artwork, and boom, I got credit for it. That was the earliest I remember something happening. But as a kid, I was always going up and visiting the office and loved every second of it. And when I was a very young kid, I saw my father drawing the Daredevil cover. And before that, he had been doing romance comics.
Yeah.
I was 6 or 7. I was having a nightmare. Pulled the attic door down. In Queens, you pull the attic door, it folds down, and you climb up the wooden stairs. And he was working on Daredevil number 12. And he had been doing romance comics before that. And apparently I stopped crying or stopped sobbing. And he said, come here, sit down. And he showed me what this was. This is a superhero. And oh, by the way, he's blind. And I think I was hooked. At the top of my head blew up. Blind? How could he beat these guys up? And he patiently, at 3 o'clock in the morning, he patiently explained superheroes and so on. I'm sorry, I'm speechless from a story like that.
Green Goblin head.
Aside from Daredevil, were there other characters?
By the way, I still have that cover.
Oh, you do?
I have it, yeah.
Oh my God.
64, I think it was.
Were there other characters that shaped you, aside from Daredevil and obviously Spider-Man?
Daredevil, Spider-Man, not really to that extent. But the fights and the interactions between this kid from Queens, just like us, that kind of thing. So there's the personalities. But the heroes, Captain America, prototypical, and then the Hulk, that was fun because he was such a maniac. But the Spider-Man and Daredevil characters, and they interacted in a couple of issues that he worked on. No, those particular characters, yeah.
Are there some, and again, this is always a tough question because there's so much, are there some that you create? I mean, you've created so many iconic characters as well. Are there some that stick out in your head that you're most proud of, or runs in series? I know Daredevil you're very proud of.
Yeah, the run of Daredevil I'm proud of, and Man Without Fear very proud of as an art piece, because I had Al Williamson and Frank Miller working with me on that. I couldn't be more proud of a project than that. But there's a pride in the 9/11 issue that is bittersweet, and Scott and I were very proud of the way it came out. But it was such an awful reason, and it takes the luster off of it because people died. We were attacked. Yeah. And we did it for all the right reasons, even though I thought it was the wrong reason at the time, and I talked it over with my father. But ultimately, my wife, Kathy, was the one that said, you know that this is not to capitalize on this. Yeah. They're not going to raise money and keep it. So she talked me into it. My father said, your decision, you have to decide yourself. But Kathy was the one with the ultimate, she was the ultimate arbiter of it. And she was right. As long as it wasn't to capitalize on it, we did it. And it ended up being an important piece. And Scott, Hannah, and I had a blast. But George Straczynski said, when he was asked to do it, there are no words. And at the time he said it, it was a sincere emotion. And that's the part that became the basis for the story.
Wow.
And it's brilliantly written, and it's a product that I'm very proud of, but it's for the wrong reason. So Man Without Fear, if I had to choose one, that would be the project.
I saw Hannah working on a cover, the 9/11 cover today next to you, and I was just like, every time I see that, it's just, yeah. I mean,
now that we do the remarks, and I'm going to have a tough time. Scott and I went to a comic book store in Las Vegas to sign that issue, and we were there to sign it. It was maybe 6 or 8 weeks after the attack, something to that, maybe 2 months, maybe I forgot the exact amount that the book came out, and we were signing. We were there at the store, and might have been Desert Wind, and we were there signing it, and a bunch of firefighters came in. And you know, at the time it was, oh man, these guys are great. Yeah. Turns out that this group of guys had hooked up with a bunch of guys from San Diego, firefighting crew. The firefighters came, the San Diego guys came through Vegas, and they hooked up with the Vegas guys, and these guys drove cross country.
Wow.
In the middle of the night. And they came to us because they thought we were heroes for drawing a fucking comic book. So Scott and I sat there with tears running down our cheeks that these guys acted like we were important, and they had a couple of guys didn't make it. But we try not to talk about that.
Yeah.
These guys are superheroes. So we vowed to take that book and remark it every single time it was in front of us, and the two of us are joking 20 years later. I don't know how many millions of copies there are out there we haven't signed, but we're going to get them all. So it's a point of honor for us. unfortunately for the wrong reason.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing that story. I mean, I as you were saying, I'm like,
I am such a weakling.
No,
I should be strong
you
enough
care.
now.
I mean,
So we did the 8-page 20th anniversary. Joe Casada wrote it about the 5 bells that are rung 4 times. You've heard that?
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Another one. So Scott and I did the 8-pager, and I don't know if I could have done it another long one like we did with the 9/11 issue, but this 8-page thing is, I'm very proud of it. It's great honor to them.
what? It's so hard to even follow that up. But like, how does that feel to? I know you're very humble about it and realistic as well as you know, heroes. It's not even. There's no words for what police and firefighters did on that day, and I mean, everyone remembers where they were. I remember where I was. But what is it like to kind of give someone inspiration? You know, obviously that story is incredible. Them driving across and having, you know, everyone needs an escape and everyone needs something to look up to, and to have you guys giving them this, you know, inspiration release. I mean,
It's easy. Puts everything in perspective.
Yeah.
I'm drawing superheroes. They are superheroes. The military, the cops, and the firefighters. Buddy of mine's a cop, retired, lost 12 of his buddies. Another buddy of mine is a retired firefighter, lost 43 of his buddies. So when I get choked up about doing this, these 2 guys that I run into at our reunions, they're still standing, and they're matter of fact about it. That's what we're supposed to do. What do you expect? And I'm choked up about telling a story about comic books. Everything's relative, and the humility has nothing to do with it. You have to be honest with yourself about it. So Scott and I talk about this. We chuckle. All we did was draw an effing comic book.
yeah, but you're making a difference though. It's
All right,
nice.
all right, fair enough. And to have those guys,
Yeah.
have those guys be impressed, that meant a lot to us.
Wow.
Don't sell your part short.
Yeah, serious. Thank you. You took the words out of what I was trying to come out. Yeah, I mean, it's incredible to hear that. I mean, there's so much frivolous stuff in the world. It's nice to
Amen.
kind of see real substance of, you know, even if it is a comic or a show or a movie or whatever.
You're right, if it helps people in any way, shape, or form. Okay, fair enough. I take it that way. But in regards to these heroes, that's why we got all upset by what we did, and we vowed to remark them every single time we see one in front of us. And it matters not, and we should be raising money for it every time.
It's very hard to pivot, but I always like to end with what else you're passionate about and working on that you're excited about. And obviously, you have so many.
You want to know what is my biggest pride?
Yes.
The most important, paying the effing bills every month. That's why when the mortgage is paid, I'm very happy with my job.
Incredible.
I love the job, I still do. It's fun. As long as I'm physically capable and it still sells, I'm going to stick with it. And it's better than having a real job. That's all I know.